Good morning, my dear kids. How are you all? I hope you all are fit and fine at your home. Today, we are going to read our next chapter, chapter number 12, our government. Alright, class, India is a very big country. It is looked after by a group of representatives that form the government. It is very difficult for a single government to run such a big country. So we have divided India into several states. There are some union territories also. All these states and the union territories are together called the Indian Union. The head of the Indian Union is called the President. India has a democratic form of government. It means the rule of the people, for the people, and by the people. All citizens of 18 years of age or above have the right to cast their vote to elect the representatives of their choice to govern the country. Elections in India are conducted and supervised by the Election Commission of India. And we already read in our previous classes that we have two levels of government. First, that looks after matters concerning the whole country is called the union government or the central government. And second is state government. Each state also has its own government that is called state government. It looks after matters related to that particular state. The union territories are directly under the central government. The government of our country has three arms or parts. One arm makes laws, it is called the legislature. The second arm runs the country according to these laws. This arm is called the executive. And the third arm makes sure that everything actually happens according to the law. This arm is called the judiciary. This is true of the state governments as well. It's clear that the government in India performs three major functions: makes laws, carries out laws, protects the laws from being broken, and resolve disputes in accordance with the laws. These functions are performed by the three branches of the government: legislature, executive, and judiciary. First part of the union government is the union legislature. To legislate means to make laws. The union legislature or the law making body for the whole country is the parliament. It has two houses or parts, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. The president, whose signature is needed for all laws, is also a part of the legislature. Alright. One important function of the government is to make laws. These laws are made by a body called the Parliament or the Union Legislature. The Indian Parliament or Sansad consists of the following: the Lok Sabha, the Rajya Sabha, and the President of India. Now, the Lok Sabha. The members of the Lok Sabha are elected by the people of the country during the general elections. Any Indian who is 18 or older can vote in these elections. The general elections are held every 5 years. For the elections, the country is divided into many areas called constituencies. The people of each constituency are free to vote for any of the contestants from their constituency. Any Indian who is 25 or older can be a contestant. Usually, however, those who contest belong to some party. The contest who gets the greatest number of votes from a constituency gets elected to the Lok Sabha from that constituency. Did you get this? That Lok Sabha is a body of elected members. Men and women of 18 years or above cast their vote to elect these members. The members are elected for a period of 5 years. The minimum age to become a member of the Lok Sabha is 25 years. Currently, it consists of 545 members. Now next is the Rajya Sabha. The members of the Rajya Sabha are not elected directly by the people. They are elected by the legislative assemblies of the states and the union territories of Delhi and Puducherry. In addition, 12 members are appointed by the president. They are people who are well known in their fields of work, such as art, literature, sports, and social work. The members of the Rajya Sabha are elected for 6 years. One third of them retire every 2 years, and new members are elected. Alright, it is also a body of elected members. They are elected by members of the state legislative assemblies. Currently, it consists of 245 members. The members of the Rajya Sabha are elected for a period of 6 years. Now, what the parliament does? The most important function of the parliament is to make, change, and remove laws. Apart from this, it decides the taxes that people have to pay and the amount of money that the government will spend in a year. It also discusses the problems of the people and the relations of our country with other countries. Next part of the government is the union executive. The executive arm of the union government consists of the president, the vice president, and the council of ministers. The president is the head of the union executive. Every decision of the government is taken in the name of the president. Every new law that is made must have his or her signature. However, the real work of running the country is done by the prime minister and the council of ministers. Let us say that the president is like a grandparent. His advice is respected by everyone, but he does not do the actual work. The president and the vice president are elected for a term of 5 years. The president is elected by the elected members of the parliament and those of the legislative assemblies of the states and the union territories of Delhi and Puducherry. The vice president is elected by the parliament. In the absence of the president, the vice president acts as the president. Did you get it? That the main function of the executive is to carry out laws passed by the legislature. The union executive consists of the president, prime minister, and the council of ministers. Now, the council of ministers. After the general elections, the party or a group of like-minded parties that win majority forms the government. Their leader is appointed the prime minister by the president. The prime minister selects the council of ministers from among the members of parliament of his or her party. They can be from either house of parliament. Okay, let me explain this. Many political parties fight the Lok Sabha elections. The president appoints the leader of the majority party as the prime minister. Sometimes no single party gets the majority, then two or more parties join together and elect their leaders. The president then appoints this joint leader as the prime minister. The other ministers are appointed by the president on the advice of the prime minister. All these ministers, including the prime minister, are called the council of ministers. It is this council of ministers that runs the government. Now, next part is the judiciary. The judges and the courts of our country form our judiciary. The Supreme Court in New Delhi is the highest of the courts. It has a Chief Justice and many other judges. The Chief Justice is appointed by the President. He or she advises the President on the other judges to be appointed to the Supreme Court. Below the Supreme Court are the high courts of the states. Most states have a high court. The states that do not have one share the high court of another state. The high court is the higher court in a state. Below it are the district courts. Okay, Supreme Court, then High Court, then District Court. The Guwahati High Court is shared by Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, and Mizoram. Now, what courts do? The main function of the courts is to see that everything happens according to the law. This includes punishing those who break the law and protecting those who are innocent. When someone is arrested for committing a crime, the courts decide whether the person is really guilty and what punishment he or she should get. They also settle disputes. The disputes could be over money, a piece of land, and so on. When people are not happy with the decision of a lower court, they can go to the next higher court. Now, the state governments. Every state has its own government. It has an executive, a legislature, and a judiciary. The legislature. The legislature in most states has one house called the Legislative Assembly. It makes laws for the state only. The laws made by a state legislature hold only in that particular state. The members of the Legislative Assembly of a state are elected by the people of the state during the state or assembly elections. These elections, too, are held every 5 years. A state is divided into assembly constituencies for the state elections. These constituencies are smaller than the parliamentary constituencies. Now, next is the executive. The state executive is headed by the governor. However, the chief minister and the council of ministers do the actual work of running the state. A state government looks after such matters as education, health, law and order, forestry, irrigation, etc. A state government is formed in exactly the same manner as the union government. The members of a state legislative assembly are elected for a period of 5 years. The governor is appointed by the president. After the state elections, the leader of the majority party in the legislative assembly is appointed the chief minister by the governor. The chief minister chooses the other members of the council of ministers. Now, last is the judiciary. As you know, the High Court is the highest court in a state. A state has many districts. Each district has its own district court. Now, this is all about your states. What about union territories? 6 of the 8 union territories are run by the union government. The lieutenant governor, who is the head of a union territory, runs it in the name of the president. The union territories of Delhi and Puducherry also have lieutenant governors but are slightly different. Each has its own legislative assembly and council of ministers. So, in some matters, they are run like a state. So, your chapter is over. Please read the chapter and fill the bookwork. Thank you. Have a nice day.